Hello everyone, welcome to Sovereign Artsakh. It's Michael, and in this video I'm going, as I promised in yesterday's video, I'm going to read another update from reactions to President Joe Biden recognizing the Armenian Genocide officially, finally, on April 24th, 2021. As you can see from the title of this article, Reactions to Biden in Turkey. Well, before I read this, and this is a longer article, so I'm just going to get straight into reading it and then comment at the end. But before I do that, remember to subscribe, share these videos, and click like. All right. This is Rafi Bedrosian. I think I read about who this guy is, but I don't remember. But maybe it will be revealed. This is from May 3rd, so this is now 2 weeks ago. 1 week after the U.S. recognized the Armenian Genocide, or the U.S. president officially released the press release. It has been a week now since President Biden's April 24th, 2021 statement recognizing the Armenian Genocide. This was a long overdue acknowledgement by the United States of an event that took place 106 years ago, about which there is already a general worldwide acceptance of the historical facts. The only issue left was the reluctance of a few states to define the 1915 event as genocide in deference to Turkey. The symbolic genocide recognition by the U.S. is a political non-event, except for the traumatized Armenians and paranoid Turks. This obsession with properly naming it as genocide has caused many generations of Armenians to be traumatized, not able to move past 1915, spending enormous amounts of energy, academic, historic, political talent, and resources at the expense of more productive activities for the growth of Armenia, Artsakh, and diaspora. The Armenians' trauma is directly caused by a similar and more obstinate obsession by the Turkish state in denying the true facts of 1915, spending not only enormous amounts of energy, academic, historic resources in Turkey, but also hundreds of millions of dollars in lobbying activities in the U.S., as well as buying out a few foreign academics to advance their denialist version of history. The Turkish denial is caused by paranoia and fear of the 3 R's: recognition, to be followed by retribution, compensation, to be followed by restitution, land. This vicious cycle of genocide denial versus forcing genocide recognition, fueled by paranoia and trauma, could only be reversed by starting dialogue between Turks and Armenians based on historic realities of 1915 as advocated by the late Hrant Dink. And the vicious cycle could only come to an end by having the Turkish parliament acknowledge the historic realities of 1915 instead of parliaments of third states. For a few years in the mid-2010s, there was a glimpse of hope that there could be some baby steps in Turkey toward facing history, at least allowing discussion. The genocide word was not punishable anymore. Many books acknowledging the genocide were published and translated. There were conferences, talk shows where pro- and anti-genocide viewpoints were freely discussed. April 24th commemorations were allowed in many cities, including Istanbul, Ankara, Izmir, Diyarbakir. Jihadist leaders, the perpetrators of the Armenian Genocide, were condemned. Messages of condolences for losses suffered by the Armenians during the First World War were proclaimed by the government leaders. Some minority-owned properties illegally expropriated in the past were returned. Reconstruction of a few Armenian churches was permitted, including the largest in Diyarbakir, Serp Giragos Church. Restoration of Ani ruins were started with cooperation of historic restoration experts from Armenia. Along with these positive steps of democratization, peaceful reconciliation initiatives toward the only remaining sizable minority, the Kurds, were advanced. But then what happened? All of these initiatives were thrown away starting in 2016. Islamic ideology merged with nationalist fascist ideology, creating a viciously intolerant and dictatorial regime where only Sunni Turks, or rather Sunni Turks loyal to the ruling party, are allowed to live, and all others have become barely tolerated second-class citizens. Journalists, academics, hundreds of thousands of citizens, Kurdish political leaders, in short, Anyone questioning the authority of the ruling party are dismissed and jailed. Even before Biden's statement, April 24 commemorations were banned. The president's office arranged for a 3-day history conference about the 1915 events starting April 20th, where more than 25 Turkish academicians presented papers proving that there was no genocide, not even a massacre, just a humane relocation of the Armenian rebels from the war zone to a safer location in Syria within the country in order to prevent them from backstabbing the Turkish army. And I kept screaming at my computer screen. No kidding. How about my pregnant grandmother deported from Bursa to Damascus? Was she a rebel? Was she in the war zone? I listened to all 9 hours of the conference with the papers at the level and quality of high school compositions. Each presenter competed to outdo the lies of the others, parroting their research facts from the archives. One of the conclusions was that according to their latest research, evidence shows that only 150,000 Armenians died, of which 50,000 were volunteers who had died after joining the Russian army. But since Armenian historians always add a 0 to their numbers of the dead, that is how Armenians keep claiming 1.5 million dead. Compared to past frivolously published papers which at least admitted some massacres during the deportations, this conference produced completely laughable lies. After Biden's statement, the floodgates opened and every politician in the ruling party, as well as in opposition, except the pro-Kurdish HDP, every journalist, every academician, every talk show host attacked Biden, the Americans, the EU, the West, and of course all the Armenians past and present. The only Armenian MP in the parliament, Garo Paylan, was threatened to face the same fate as what Talat Pasha did to the treasonous Armenians. Almost every talk show started with grateful commemoration and prayers for the heroic leader Talat Pasha. There is no longer any shred of empathy for the millions of civilian Armenians, Pontic Greeks, Assyrians, or Yazidis who perished during a few short years during the First World War. President Erdogan, after staying silent for 3 days while his cabinet members and presidential spokespersons fiercely attacked Biden, announced Biden's statement to be baseless and added, "I am speaking based on evidence, unlike Biden. We have over 1 million documents related to the 1915 events in our archives. I am wondering how many documents the United States has. Armenian gangs, who were at least 150,000 to 300,000 people, carried out massacres in Turkish territory. Furthermore, they partnered with Russian forces to fight against us. Ottoman authorities took precautions. Biden's biased statement of 1915 events is destructive for Turkish-American bilateral relations. We believe that Mr. Biden's statement was due to pressure from radical Armenian figures. The opposition politicians were much more vocal in their protests against Biden and, in fact, egged on Erdogan for not protesting more forcefully, meowing like a cat instead of roaring like a lion. It seems that the Turkish denial is now even more intensified and reaching new heights. What is even worse is the attitude of the Kurds. In recent years, Kurdish intellectuals and political leaders had readily acknowledged their role in the Armenian genocide and their harmful treatment of Armenians before the genocide. In fact, there was even a memorial sculpture installed in Diyarbakir for the Armenian and Assyrian victims of 1915. Unfortunately, most of these progressive Kurdish political leaders are now jailed, and there is a new ominous reality. Historian Professor Dr. Taner Akşam, who I've met, and I have a couple of his books, Historian Professor Taner Akşam just published a new book in Turkish called An Abbreviated History of the Armenian Genocide. One historical fact he points out is related to Kurdish tribal chiefs who ruled over Armenian villages in Eastern Anatolia, Western Armenia, called the First Night Rites. It is documented that in many provinces, Kurdish tribal chiefs claim the right to rape Armenian brides on the wedding night before their marriage took place. This is a known reality. In fact, I'm going to take a pause here. I've been reading the memoir of General Andronik, and he mentions that exact same thing over 100 years ago. The first night rites, and if you've watched Braveheart the movie, it's the same thing that happened in Britain against William Wallace's people, or what it was. That was a law that the knights can have their way with a bride on her wedding night. Sorry, I'm almost done with the article. It is documented that in many provinces, Kurdish tribal chiefs claimed the right to rape Armenian brides on the wedding night before the marriage took place. This is a known reality. In fact, I know of Armenian families who hastily escaped from their village to Istanbul during the wedding night in order to avoid the rape of the Armenian bride girl. However, some Kurdish intellectuals have now started a protest campaign against Akçam, denying that Kurds have ever done such a thing in the past. It is utterly disappointing and one more step backward to see the Kurds joining the Turks in their denial against historic facts. But truth always comes out in the end, sooner or later, no matter how hard someone tries to hide it or stop it. Period. I think that's the end. Yeah. Truth always comes out in the end, no matter. And there's 106 years later, the historical facts are there. Like, history is truth, right? And even though historians don't like using the word truth, the way we use it colloquially, truth are the inarguable facts on the ground. Inarguable. The Turks are going to argue anything. You say something's green, they'll say it's orange, right? And they'll argue against it. So, sorry, I don't mean to say the Turks. I need to couch my terminology. The denialists, the propagandists, those who deny history, those who are for some reason in Erdogan's camp. I'm not going to psychoanalyze even you, Özgür and Snowden, some of my detractors in the comment section. Let me just say, I agree with this guy saying it's kind of, the Biden thing is kind of just lip service until Turkey acknowledges it. Really, there's not really going to be a change for Armenians, and that just reemphasizes my entire purpose. My purpose for doing the project that I'm working on, not just getting the memoir translated and published, but getting a big budget production made that tells this full story. The purpose is for it to be historically accurate. The script that I've written has been fact-checked by Turkish historians, or a Turkish historian and an Armenian historian, and they were impressed with it and couldn't believe, So it's compelling drama, and if you do it in a big budget entertainment style, that's the only way people are going to embrace history. The only way they're going to accept history is some hugely popular, successful, interesting, entertaining piece of art. People will look at, embrace it, fall in love with the characters, and when they realize it's a true history, they'll scorn and degrade anybody who disagrees with it. So denialism will become passé. Denialism of these things will eventually, in Turkey, become the minority viewpoint, and the people will be scorned for it. I think maybe they'll elect a new president that acknowledges it, and there will be a transformation of Turkey. To summarize, I believe Turkey will change from within by our efforts. All right. Remember to subscribe, share, and click the like button.